It was haunted. Teenagers dared each other to spend a night there, but none ever lasted until dawn. Some said it was cursed. Others said it was just a creepy old house. But everything changed when Daniel Reynolds came to town. Daniel wasn't a local. He was a journalist chasing stories of the supernatural. His YouTube channel, GhostWatch, was gaining traction, and he was always looking for the next big thing. When he heard the tales about Thornton Manor, he packed his gear and drove straight to Hollow Creek. He arrived on a cold, overcast afternoon. The town's few residents gave him wary looks as he walked into the diner to ask about the manor. An old man sitting by the window was the only one who seemed willing to talk. "You don't want to go there," the man said, his voice gravelly. "That house is evil." "Evil how?" Daniel pressed, his camera rolling. The man's hand trembled as he stirred his coffee. "People go in, but they don't come out. Not the same, anyway." Daniel smirked. "Sounds like the perfect story for me." The old man's eyes locked onto Daniel's. "You're a fool if you think it's just a story." As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Daniel stood at the gate of Thornton Manor. The air was heavy, and the forest around him was eerily silent. Even the wind seemed to avoid this place. He set up his camera, speaking directly to it. "This is it, folks," he said. "The infamous Thornton Manor. Tonight, we're going to find out if the legends are true." The gate creaked as he pushed it open, the sound echoing unnaturally loud. The front yard was overgrown, the weeds reaching up like claws. As he approached the house, he noticed strange symbols carved into the doorframe, intricate patterns that seemed to pulse in the dim light. He took a picture and made a mental note to research them later. Inside, the air was musty and cold. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing a grand staircase, tattered furniture, and walls covered in peeling wallpaper. The house seemed to breathe, the floorboards groaning under his weight. Daniel began his exploration, narrating as he went. He found old photographs of a family, a stern-looking man, a beautiful woman, and 2 young children. Their eyes seemed to follow him, even in the faded black and white images. On the back of one photograph was a name, the Thornton family, 1897. He felt a chill but shrugged it off. Just the power of suggestion, he muttered to himself. As the night wore on, strange things began to happen. Doors creaked open on their own. His equipment malfunctioned. He heard faint whispers, but when he followed them, there was no one there. Each time he tried to rationalize it, but deep down, unease was creeping in. At midnight, he set up a spirit box in the living room. "If there's anyone here, make yourself known," he said. The box crackled, and then a voice came through. It was faint but unmistakable. "Leave." Daniel froze. "Why do you want me to leave?" The reply was immediate. "Danger." A sudden bang upstairs made him jump. He grabbed his flashlight and headed toward the noise. The staircase groaned under his weight, each step feeling heavier than the last. At the top, the hallway stretched before him, its shadows twisting and shifting. He followed the sound to a door at the end. The door was ajar, and beyond it was a child's bedroom. The wallpaper was decorated with faded cartoons, and a small bed sat in the corner, its mattress rotted. On the floor was a single, dusty doll. As Daniel stepped inside, his flashlight flickered and died. In the darkness, he heard it, a giggle, high-pitched and chilling. He fumbled to turn the flashlight back on, but when the beam finally returned, the room was empty. The doll, however, was no longer on the floor. It was sitting upright on the bed, its glassy eyes staring straight at him. Daniel's breath quickened. "This isn't real," he whispered. "It's just my mind playing tricks." But deep down, he knew better. Determined to finish his investigation, Daniel descended to the basement. The air grew colder with each step, and the smell of damp earth filled his nostrils. The basement was vast, its walls lined with shelves holding jars of unidentifiable substances. In the center of the room was an old, wooden chair surrounded by more of those strange symbols. He set up his camera, speaking into it with forced bravado. "This is where it all happens, folks. The heart of the haunting." Suddenly, the symbols on the floor began to glow faintly. The temperature plummeted, and Daniel's breath came out in visible puffs. A low hum filled the air, growing louder and louder until it was almost deafening.
Then silence.
The camera screen went black, and Daniel was plunged into darkness. He fumbled for his flashlight, but it wouldn't turn on. Panic set in as he felt a presence behind him. Turning slowly, he saw nothing at first. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he caught movement. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. It had no discernible features, just a humanoid shape that seemed to absorb the light around it. Daniel's voice caught in his throat as he tried to speak. The figure pointed toward him, and in a voice that sounded like many voices speaking at once, it said, "You were warned." Daniel ran. He didn't stop to grab his gear, didn't stop to look back. He sprinted out of the house, through the overgrown yard, and into the safety of his car. He drove straight back to town, his hands trembling on the wheel. The next morning, Daniel returned to retrieve his equipment. But when he arrived at the manor, it was gone. The house, the yard, even the gate, all of it had vanished. In its place was an empty clearing, the ground scorched as if by fire. He asked the locals about it, but they only shook their heads. "There's never been a house there," the old man at the diner said. "You must have been dreaming." But Daniel knew what he had seen. And when he checked his camera, he found one last recording, the shadowy figure, staring directly into the lens, whispering a single word. "Stay." To this day, Daniel refuses to talk about what happened at Thornton Manor. His video from that night remains the most watched on his channel, but he's never returned to Hollow Creek. Some say the house still appears, waiting for its next visitor. Others believe it's gone for good. But one thing is certain, whatever happened that night will forever remain a mystery.